So 2017 was not a good, but so many things about it were good. It was a great year for movies, TV, music, podcasts, just all things entertainment. And those are all the things that I'm super passionate about. So in typical internet fashion, I decided to make a list of my top 10 favorite pieces of media from last year. I know it's coming out in February, and that's a little late in the game, but I still want to talk about these things because they really affected my life, and I just kind of want to, I don't know, I want to do something fun. Shoot. Without further ado,
it's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call
Isaac Lastname's Top 10 Media of 2017.
Number 10, The Chris Gethard Show. The Chris Gethard Show was the most innovative thing on TV this year, and I have no hesitation in saying that. It's fun, it's a gut punch, and it's giving a voice to people on television that have never really had one before. I feel like Gethard is the only one even trying to make changes in the standard talk show format that we've had for the last 15 years, and he's doing so in the most engaging, dramatic ways possible. I've got a lot more to say about this, so expect an episode on it in the future, but for now, I'll just leave you with this sentiment.
If this is the last you hear from me, if you have something you feel like you need to say, find a way to say it and don't let anybody stop you.
Number 9, Stranger Things Season 2. The Stranger Things team had a frankly impossible task with following up that first season. I mean, remember that Super Bowl commercial? People were practically pissing themselves, and it was almost a years away at that point. Being the pessimist I am, I thought to myself,
I have a very bad feeling about this.
But they nailed it. Stranger Things Season 2 is a cotton candy machine of passion and excitement. The new additions to the cast were a pleasure to watch and meshed excellently with the old ones. The story might not have been as tight, but we got so many awesome moments that I feel like it gave the show a whole new life for me. The writers were even able to toss in a whole Akira subplot and do it justice. On top of all that, I was astounded by just how technically sound it all was. I mean, just look at this shot. Overall, Stranger Things had a bitchin' sophomore season, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the story plays out.
Kinda cool.
Bitchin'.
Okay, sure. Bitchin'.
Number 8, Cut Short. Cut Short is an amazing YouTube channel I found a few months back, all about unmade movie and TV projects. It's got this rad, lo-fi aesthetic, and the guy behind everything is super charming. It's perfect for casually listening between classes, and I never fail to learn something new. Right now, most of the videos centered around superheroes and Star Wars, so if you're really into that, go for it. The video about Ferris Bueller 2's development, or lack thereof, intrigued me to no end. Hopefully, he'll expand into a wider breadth of content in the future.
But for right now, all we can do is hope.
Number 7, American Vandal. American Vandal is simultaneously the dumbest and smartest thing I've seen on TV in a while. If I had to describe it, I'd say it's a true crime parody, but it does so much genre bending it's hard to define. It appeals to all of my junior high sensibilities while managing to one-up something like Mean Girls by creating three-dimensional characters. One of the leads, Dylan, has a wondrously thought-out personality and is perfectly brought to life by Jimmy Tatro. You'll come for the dick jokes and stay for the drama. Defo check it out if you haven't already.
This is dope. This is really dope, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Number 6, Nikki Jake. YouTube is my favorite. I feel like the content I get on here I can't get anywhere else. Little pockets of goofiness that'll get you through the tough stuff in life. My new favorite pocket of goof is Nikki Jake. This guy is deeply dedicated to his art and an absolute wordsmith.
The year is 1986. You and your boys just finished watching Pretty in Pink in theaters and you're all feeling a lot of emotions in your bodies right now. While Tears for Fears Everybody Wants to Rule the World blares from the speakers in your mom's Honda Accord, your pal Ricky leans over and says, "Hey, let's go back to my place." My dad's got Back to the Future on VHS, you little bitch. I don't know why I'd call his friends a little bitch, but...
His content is creative, intelligently critical, and all around funny. Most of Jake's videos center around video games, but even if you're not into that sort of thing, I think his work transcends the gamer culture surrounding it. The channel revolves around questions I had never even pondered before, such as, what does it take to have a good artistic title screen? And how do game developers use beer as a mechanic? They're fun questions to think about, and Jakey always manages to balance these fascinating little inquiries with a unique style of humor I find endearing as no other.
I could play that song from Harry Potter.
Number 5, Cape Fear. So, no, the Martin Scorsese masterwork Cape Fear did not come out in 2017. But I saw it for the first time last year, and holy ham, y'all, is good. An obvious send-up of my all-time favorite director, Alfred Hitchcock, with the constant visual nods and religious symbolism, I was left in utter awe of this film by the time it was finished. Usually when people try and do Hitchcock, they just fail miserably. It ends up being way too close to the original, or is just such a bastardization of aesthetic that you can't even watch it. But with this movie, it's different. Scorsese doesn't try to channel Hitchcock in his filmmaking. He uses the techniques of Hitchcock, the layering, the slow pans, the wild lighting cues, to make something else. Something that feels equal parts old and new, and for that, I couldn't deny it a place on my list. I think it's a really fun watch, and I recommend it to anyone who's a fan of thrillers, cinema, or incredibly disturbing Robert De Niro performances.
Ooh, I got all over fidgets on that one. You're really shaking me up. I'm shivering all over.
Number 4, The Good Place. The Good Place is the piece of media I was most surprised by this year. It disarmed me with a unique structure, hypnotized me with world building, and reminded me that my second degree in humanities is ultimately worthless.
Speaking of Chidi is something no one has ever said, because no one talks about Chidi, because no one likes Chidi, because he's so annoying about ethics.
The performances are absolutely brilliant in this show, with Ted Take Your Breath Away dancing and Kristen Killing the Game Bell leading one of the most dynamic casts I've ever seen. They've got to hit so many wildly different beats seamlessly, and I honestly think The Good Place couldn't exist without its two amazing leads. The plot is equally impressive, and never afraid to completely change its core dynamic at a moment's notice. I am just absolutely positive this sucker's gonna get a third season, and you know I'll be watching it relentlessly when it comes around.
And now we're going to do the most human thing of all. Attempt something futile with a ton of unearned confidence and fail spectacularly.
Number 3, The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water is a film unlike any other. It's a timely tale with a 50s aesthetic and a very sexy fish boy. I have no idea how Del Toro keeps convincing people to make his off-the-wall romantic monster flicks, but thank God he does. It's a movie that speaks to the outsider in all of us. You connect to every person in this movie, and even the villains. I think it was my favorite film of the year. The constant moving camera, the blue, gloomy cinematography, and every sort of fantasy fairy tale thing that happens works cohesively. I've never seen anything like it, and I doubt anyone will be able to match it in its brilliance for a long time to come. If it doesn't win a crap ton of Oscars, I'll be shocked, because it deserves all of them and more. Go see this movie. It's an absolute treat. Number 2, Pup The Dreams Over. So some context on this one. My brother and I have been writing a movie for about a year now, and we both kind of imagined Finn Wolfhard as one of the leads. I hadn't known Finn from his work on Stranger Things, obviously, but my brother Timmy heard that he was in music videos for this punk band called Pup. I figured I'd give it a shot. I didn't really think twice of it. So I YouTubed Sleep in the Heat, and was just absolutely floored. Their second album, The Dream Is Over, is probably my favorite album of all time. It's an album that is just a constant reflection on the status quo. It kind of takes all of these things about life, work, play, joy, loneliness, just and shoves it into a punk rock aesthetic. When I listen to this album, I feel like I know these guys, and like they know me. It's something I've never gotten from music before, and it's a great feeling. You know, anytime they come playing around Los Angeles, I'm gonna be at that show, and I hope that maybe you guys might try that out too.
So you drove up to Black Mountain, and you got eaten by a combo of Grimes and Carly Rae Jepsen.
So we're dead.
You're dead. You're gone.
Number 1, The Adventure Zone Balance. I didn't cry during Up. I was dry-eyed during The Fault in Our Stars, but I openly wept several times when listening to the last 2 Adventure Zone arcs. Back in August of last year, I started listening to podcasts for the first time, and the McElroy brothers just, they climbed to the top of my favorites list in terms of the medium. I'd recommend anything created by Justin, Griffin, Travis. Just please go... Yeah, search on whatever thing you get your podcasts from. Check them out, for sure. Eventually, I dove into the Adventure Zone, the tabletop RPG podcast that the McElroy brothers put on with their father Clint. As a person who's never really been super into D&D or pretty much anything wizardy, I kind of had a hard time engaging with it for the first few episodes, but once I got into what the Adventure Zone was, I got really into it. I think what really sets the Adventure Zone apart for me is the structure of the thing. It's just such a brilliant way to tell narrative story. The non-visual nature of podcasting allows for the listener to create the whole world of the Adventure Zone in their mind, just like any reader would do with a good book. But it also isn't trapped by the trappings of writing. You still get the beautiful humanity of a live-action actor, their improvisations, their inflections. Not only that, but you get all of this meta-narrative, the family dynamic between all of them as people who have basically lived their whole lives together, the intensity of waiting for a dice roll that could make or break a character, the jokes about creating the story itself. Despite being super successful and potentially Simpsons-esque with their ability just to create constant new stories, Taz ended this year. It was a story designed to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, despite never needing a end. I won't go too into the actual ending because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I will say this. It does everything you'll expect it to do, and then it does more. Somehow, these people were able to accumulate these 3 years of storytelling into an experience unlike anything I've ever listened to before. It's hyper creative and very special to me. Please just go listen to The Adventure Zone. I think it's just a really good, interesting piece of media to enjoy.
I don't want people to think about it in like a crass way, like, oh, you all have helped our careers by making this show successful. You all helped me, like, personally, because I didn't know that this was a thing that we could do.
I grew creatively, not just from doing the show, but from how people reacted to it and the feedback they gave, and it taught me a lot about being a creator, and what that can mean to people, the things that you create, and how important those things can be to people.
And I made a whole bunch of new friends, and I got to do it with the 3 most important people in my life. I mean,
who?
There's no downside there.
And I guess for me, just you're welcome.
Okay.
I want to make sure to say you're welcome.
That's it for the Adventure Zone. That's it for Balance, really.
Anyway, that was all I have. That was the last one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.